I need to change that. Or I'll wing it. Yep. All right. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It being 6:01 p.m, I'll declare the August meeting of the Shire of Capel open. We wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Wadandi people. We wish to acknowledge and respect their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their culture, and to elders past and present, their descendants who are with us today and those who will follow in their footsteps. Record of attendance. All councillors are in attendance this evening, with apologies from the Chief Executive Officer. Acting Chief Executive Officer Samantha Chamberlain is with us tonight. There are responses to previous public questions taken on notice included in the agenda, so we now move to public question time. There are a few questions on notice. The first from Mr. Brian Hastie. Thank you, Mr. Hastie, for the question. The Shire of Capel, like many other regions in the state, is currently facing challenges related to housing. The broader southwest region is experiencing a housing crisis driven by high demand, population growth and insufficient housing supply. With a diverse and spread population centre, the Shire does not have the same level of data collection or visibility into homeless as the larger centralised urban areas. However, homelessness is recognised as a growing issue, especially in the broader southwest region, which obviously includes the Shire of Capel. Due to this, the Shire is connected with organisations such as Shelter WA, who provide advice, data and assistance to officers who are supporting individuals or families that find themselves homeless. Additionally, we have sent several officers to homelessness training to equip them with tools and knowledge in the event of an individual or family reaching out to the Shire for assistance. The Shire has limited direct resources for those facing homelessness. There are no dedicated homeless shelters or emergency beds available within the Shire itself. However, those facing homelessness can access support in a few ways. Through regional services, individual families can access shelters or emergency accommodation in Bunbury or Busselton. And through statewide resources, the West Australian Government offers various programs and support services to those experiencing homelessness. These services include crisis lines, emergency housing and assistance with finding long-term accommodation. Individuals and families in the Shire can contact these services for help and may be referred to these facilities outside of the Shire for help as well. The Shire and our libraries regularly provide information resources to residents needing assistance. Support for victims of domestic violence includes access to emergency and accommodation services. For specific assistance, individuals or families within the Shire are encouraged to contact services within the regional centres where these services are provided, or seek help from statewide organisations. Our frontline Shire officers are trained to support with such inquiries and always aim to refer them to the source of information being sought. The Shire also has relations with these support agencies for support and advice. So the Shire does have a limited housing supply, much like the overall trend the region shows and many local governments in the region are facing, that housing needs are struggling to be met. This includes issues of lack of affordable housing, insufficient rental properties and rising homelessness. The Shire is limited in its ability to address these challenges due to critical infrastructure funding constraints and the need for both the state and federal government to provide these supports as necessary in finding these solutions. In terms of what we're doing to address these issues, the Shire is working to address and mitigate some of the housing issues not only in the Shire but across the region through a combination of strategic planning, community engagement and collaboration with other levels of government. These largely centre around four things. The first is our local planning strategy. So we adopted this in 2023 as the new long-term development guide for sustainable growth. This includes identifying new areas for residential development and ensuring that there is adequate infrastructure to support this growth. The local planning scheme aims at balancing housing supply with environmental and community considerations. 2 affordable housing initiatives. The Shire is exploring opportunities to increase the availability of affordable housing through partnerships with those agencies. This includes working with developers as well to incorporate affordable housing in new development areas and seeking state and federal funding to support housing projects that target low-income families and individuals. 3 is through the expansion of our planning framework. So the Shire has implemented a tiny houses local planning policy, which allows for low-cost housing options to be explored within the Shire and provides opportunities for landowners to reside within a tiny home temporarily until that they are able to move into a more consolidated dwelling. Furthermore, this further facilitates the Shire's temporary residential accommodation local planning policy, which allows for a landowner to reside on a lot for an extended period of time as well while their dwelling is being constructed. These policies recognise the inflated cost of living and provide alternative low-cost arrangements for community members who are not in the financial position to build or rent long-term during these times. And the fourth way is through advocacy. The Shire has developed a business case for the construction of essential infrastructure, which will ultimately free up around 3,500 to 4,000 residential lots in the Boynup and Capel town sites. We've presented this to government on multiple occasions and have submitted funding applications, of which we're still waiting for an outcome. In addition to this, the Shire has advocated essential infrastructure matters through the Southwest Local Government Zone, where it sits as a regional priority. The Shire also sits on the Bunbury Geograph Economic Alliance Board, where the issue has also been flagged as an essential matter to be addressed in the region. So there's a bit of history on this one. Our current video streaming service in the chambers cannot support the addition of another camera. It's maxed out at the 3 that we have. However, a little bit of playing around this afternoon, we've slightly changed the location of the lectern, in which you are now being captured by the camera on your right there now. As you can see by the live stream, you can see it on the board. So we have accommodated the short term, but the Shire does remain dedicated to providing that high quality experience and ensures reliable public engagement. So we will look at that in future budgets as we seek to improve. There are some hardware upgrades planned for the chambers this financial year as well. Thank you, Mr. Hasty. There was another question on us from Mr. Greg Jones. He's not in the chamber tonight, but I'll read out his question. The question is a bit of background. Hatch and AgDots were appointed in October 2023 by the Capel Shire to identify a site for an agribusiness precinct to locate the Boynup sale yards. My concerns of the slow progress on this project have only increased since yet another major effluent spill on 2 separate occasions in the past 8 weeks. Both spills have resulted in effluent being discharged to the adjoining waterways. Both spills have been reported by concerned residents to the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation and the Shire of Capel Health Department. Since the last spill and roadside dumping of effluent 2 years ago, the leaseholders of the site, Walsa, seem to have an attitude that their lease has been signed off for another 10 years, so they don't really have to do much to rectify the effluent management problem. Only now, since the latest spills have occurred and been reported, they have frantically been trying to dispose of the waste by means of a continuous cycle of vacuum trucks every time it rains. This clearly indicates that the effluent system is not capable and has never been capable of handling the normal rain cycle. I'm aware that Walsa has a development approval to construct the roof over the selling area. of the sale yards, and installing an upgraded catchment area is only going to exacerbate the problem. My belief is that fast-tracking the relocation of the yards to a more suitable location away from the residential area of Boynup is the only answer to this ongoing problem of wastewater contamination in the environment. I await your answer on what progress has been made. In response to that, the Shire's renegotiation of the lease of the Boynup sale yards was on the basis that Walser must submit a capital upgrade program of works and schedule to the satisfaction of the Shire by the 13th of September 2024. As part of this plan, Walser must apply for approvals the aspects of the capital upgrades work within 6 months of the issuance of the approvals notice. Such approvals include the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation and the Shire Building Licence. Excuse me. So far, the development approvals approved by the Shire of Capel Council on the 28th of February were for an interim wastewater disposal infrastructure and roof covering. The expectation of the Shire is that all such capital works outlined in the plan will be provided and the above completed within 12 months of receiving those approvals. The Shire will not consider any variation from the above that does not include the building approval, purchasing and substantive commencement of construction of the roof structure prior to the end of 2024. In terms of the Shire's vision to eventually relocate the existing sale yards, there is a continued work to be done at a senior leadership level to facilitate the future agribusiness precinct, which will house functions such as the sale yards. The first phase of the feasibility study has been completed and reported back to Council, which remains confidential while negotiations with the landholders is undertaken. Following budget adoption, work will begin shortly to commence phase 2 with a focus on the site's governance, business model and master planning. The Shire is hopeful of having a purpose-built facility ready-made for the transition of the existing sale yards by the time the lease expires in 2032. It is a high priority of the local government, with the Shire meeting with the State Minister as recently as yesterday. It is noted that the site selection process for the agribusiness precinct accounts for factors such as and providing adequate buffers from town sites and nearby residential factors. All right, there are no more questions on notice. Are there any questions from the floor? No. We move to applications of leave of absence. Is there any applications? I'll just put in an application for the January 2025. No, not now. Can I have a mover for that, please? Move Councillor Terence Roy. Seconded Deputy President. Any discussion on that? We'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Declarations of interest. There is one declaration this evening from myself on item 14.3, tender 2402, Boynup West Road, being proximity. Notices of items to be discussed behind closed doors. There is one item, 20.1, variation to supply and delivery of gravel and limestone. Confirmation of the minutes. There's a recommendation there that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of Council from the 31st of July be confirmed as a true and accurate record. Is there a mover for those minutes? Councillor McCleary. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ferguson. Any discussion from the mover or seconder? Anything on those minutes? Nothing further. I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Announcements by the presiding member. My activity report is included there. So we now move to petitions, deputations and presentations. There is one presentation from Mr. Zach Hawkins on Boynup Pump Track. Mr. Hawkins, if you'd like to come to the lectern.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zach Hawkins and I've lived in Boynup my whole life and I really love mountain bikes and motorbikes. And I've noticed that there isn't really lots to do in Boynup. So I thought that you could we could try and make a petition and see if we could get lots of people to see if we could get like a bike park or track or something in Boynup for kids to do. Because if we get like a bike park, then there would be more people that go into Boynup, which then they could go to the shops and the shops could make more money from they get hungry and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. All right, so the petition has been received in accordance with Shire of Capel Standing Orders Local Law 4.94. I'd like to move the option 2, that in accordance with the Shire of Capel Standing Orders Local Law 4.94, Council move that the petition be received and that a report on the petition be prepared. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Mogg. In speaking to that, it was great to meet young Zach and his family down at the Lions Park and receive this petition. So Boynups goes through a bit of a generational cycle every now and then with the nature of the folk that are there. It seems to be that the kids sort of grow up a little bit, they move away and then they come back and have their kids of their own. And there certainly seems to be a bit more youthful activity getting around town at the moment. And as we hear, there's a few kids riding along the railway tracks. And while that's all fun and games, if the Taliesin rail study gets up and we have some trains running along there, it might not be an option in the future. But we see how well utilised the skate park and some of the other facilities are in the town. I think proceeding down this line though, we accept it as something that's worthy of looking into, but we can get that report back on exactly what costings might be involved and then plan for that going forward as well. So I commend the petition to the council. Councillor Mock.
Thank you, President. I'd just like to back up your sentiments and congratulate Mr. Hawkins for coming forward and being brave and speaking to us tonight. Well done.
Are there any speakers for or against? Councillor Sharp.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hawkins, for coming along and giving this presentation. I would just like to back what our Shire President has said, and also Councillor Morgan. I believe that most of the council is very pleased to see a young person advocating for the youth of their community, and I certainly will be supporting what the President has put forward. Thank you very much.
Are there any other speakers? Councillor Tarantroy.
Well done, Zach. You spoke very well and you used that microphone like a professional with a little bit of tutoring. Well done.
Any further speakers? The Deputy President.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. My youth, or much of my youth in the Shire of Capel, was spent on my bike, riding across the railway bridge, which hadn't been burnt down as many times at that stage, so you could still manage to jump on and go for a walk across. But I don't have to argue how valuable these types of assets are to the community, and we're lucky in Capel to have the pump track that we do, whether it be a bit worn down, the pump track in Jalora, and of course the new pump track in Dayalup. So it was a matter of time before we see the Boynup community and Mr. Hawkins bring this idea to council as something to incorporate potentially into sports places plan or any of the master planning and place planning for Boynup. So having spent my youth on a bike, and the Shire President reminds me that I'm just gone a couple of birthdays past the official term. I haven't been on a bike for a little while myself, but that's how I got to spend all my after school in town with my friends on my bike, riding around town on the weekends, finding something to do. Thank you very much. I'm very appreciative of the petition and supportive of the petition, and the Shire President's direction to bring that back to council in the form of a report. I think is the best course of action at the time, and we'll see what that brings to us. So thank you very much, and in support the recommendation.
Are there any further speakers? No, I think I've said what needs to be said, so I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. We now move to motions of which previous notice is given. There was a notice of motion from Councillor Mogg, however that has since been withdrawn, with intention to table it as part of the 2025-26 draft annual budget and rating strategy. There are no questions of which previous notice has been given. Let's move to Chief Executive Officer reports. 13.1, Shire of Capel Corporate Business Plan 2024 to 2028, final adoption. Is there a mover for that report? Councillor Ferguson. Is there a seconder? Councillor Noonan. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Shire President. We've been through this in great detail in previous briefings and discussions, so I won't particularly add too much to it today, but I think it's a well thought out document and I'm more than comfortable in supporting it. We'll be doing more long-term planning into the future, but I think this is a good result from a hard-working council and staff. Thank you.
Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councillor Ferguson, for moving the motion. I agree. It's this is the result of a lot of hard work from the Shire staff, and it's very. I really appreciate the way that the outcomes are now laid out, so it's very easy to follow and easy for the public to follow. Looking through the document to see how the Shire is tracking on the initiatives that it has. So yeah, I also I appreciate this as this document and support this motion.
Are there any speakers against? Speakers for? Councillor Terran-Troy.
Just to say that I love opportunities, and I think this is a great way of showing the integrated planning that has happened with the Shire staff. Councillors have been taken along for the ride as well. We've had lots and lots of workshops and opportunities to ask questions, make changes and talk about this. So it's also aligned with what the community wants and needs, and infrastructure and workforce planning as well. So, and also for the staff to be able to continue to deliver the services with the workforce plan in place. Thank you.
Are there any further speakers? I'd like to propose an amendment to only to condition 1 at this point, in that 1 as it is becomes 1A. The addition of a B, which is amend, comma, COMA, comma, 1, brand development, definition to corporate brand alignment and style guide for informing strategies, corporate documents and initiatives. And then a point C redirects $30,000 from comma 1, brand development, to CDVS1, Safety and Crime Prevention Plan. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Mogg. I'll put that bit down. Now that's on the table. Just speaking to that, I think the scope of the brand development as is there and as was presented, I don't think is the right way to proceed at this time. As we know through the corporate business plan and stuff that will be going into the community in the coming months around the next phase of the place plan and the integrated growth framework, but also we'll be going through our community satisfaction survey and getting a lot of feedback towards the end of this year as well. We'll be getting a lot of information from the community then on what they think the current feel of the community is, as well as some of the new things they'd like to see the Shire prioritising. But through the integrated growth framework is where we'll really start to see those themes and that identity from the community come through, that we can then not only instill in our local planning policy, but also potentially carry that through to the brand that the Shire uses to represent itself. So in the short term though, I think a bit of a focus on ensuring that our strategic documents only are aligned to our current styling is done, because there are some significant initiatives that we're working on, such as the infrastructure development funding business case, the agribusiness precinct. We need to make sure that aligns to what we're doing. But in terms of redeveloping it entirely, I just don't think now's the right time. I think we can get that feedback. But there's also, you know, that lingering thing in the background of the population growth in the Shire. It's very realistic that soon we'll be a city. I think when we go down that line, that's when you'd look at that sort of thing as well. Plus something off in the not too distant future around the reconciliation action plan, around the potential for dual naming. I think you need to sort of bucket that together amongst what you might be doing about yourself then, rather than try and do little bits at the time. So that's that part of it. And then, yeah, redirecting majority of that funding towards the safety and crime prevention plan. I think that's something that we need to prioritise this financial year. As we do know, there's been a few issues of some crime at some of the facilities we've had. So the Dalliop Skate Park is fantastic a facility that is. Unfortunately, there has been some ongoing vandalism, and last financial year that repair bill just for the toilets at the skate park came to a bit over $24,000. And there's certainly members of the community that are sick of seeing that behaviour, particularly those that live close, but it also ruins the enjoyment of those facilities for the youth that are trying to access them. And you know, there's other facilities around there, such as the pump track and nature play space. So there's all ages going there. We need to see some action undertaken to address these and that ongoing vandalism. So by prioritising that safety and crime prevention plan, means we can have that focused look on potential installation of CCTV, how our relationship is with WA Police is, are we utilising our own range of services effectively to try and mitigate some of these issues. So I think this is something to work through, and speaking with the local member in both Collie Preston and Bunbury, this is something that they're quite supportive of as well. So I think prioritising that, getting that support from WA Police, who have also said they're pretty keen to work with us, as well as the local members, we could develop something that's quite good. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because there are other safety plans around the region, through the cities, and some other local governments. So, you know, we can certainly partner with them as well, so we're not reinventing the wheel again. So that's it. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I'd just like to support that, and was encouraged and enlightened by your reasons why, and support that. Thank you.
Are there any speakers against the amendment? Against? Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you, Mr. Shire President. This puts us in a very difficult position, I believe, because I don't think this is particularly foreshadowed, and I'm a little concerned about that. We had a briefing only a week ago about the strategic initiatives to brand development and definition, and I've got to say, it wasn't foreshadowed that would be ash-canned, tossed in the bin, and we adopt that funding for another policy initiative. Now, I've got no problem with the policy initiative, and of course it's always the argument, I've never met a Shire resident or a person who wants less done. And this, of course, is the challenging issue about whether you continue to put some funds into long-term strategic development, or you deal with short-term initiatives which are justifiable. So this is like, you know, motherhood and apple pie. You can't vote against it, but I'm very dismayed that it came to us in this form, that it got adopted or pushed through on the basis of an adoption of a broader term strategic plan. So I'll be supporting it, which makes contrary to my sense that I'm opposing it, but I'm very unhappy about the way it's been developed and presented. I think this is actually not the way to go about it. Thank you.
All right, and any speakers for or against?
Could I just ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. President? So the effect of 1A, of 1B,
Yep.
where it says amend, comma 1, brand development definition. So should that be to defer? Should the word defer be in there anywhere?
No, the intention is that it largely stays in there so that the styling that we have and the strategic documents that we do have are tidied up and aligned to our current brand and styling. And there is still some funding still attached to that. It'd be $5,000, down from the $35,000 that's currently allocated to it. So it's still enabling some of that work to happen, but just tidying up what we have.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'll speak to the motion. I'm actually, quite happy to support this motion. It was a very interesting workshop that we had with a brand developer sort of person, but I think that the President makes a very good point in that the next 3 or 4 years we'll see quite a marked change in the nature of the Shire. Certainly the facilities that the Shire has, but each one of the communities that are in the Shire have very, very interesting and very large, quite fundamental things going on, and I think that that it does actually make sense to postpone that larger corporate branding until then. I know that the President's favourite catchphrase is a lifestyle of choices, and I certainly acknowledge that. But another point that just a brief word or term that came out at the end of one of the of that brand development session was where the presenter made the point that there were so many great stories in the Shire of Capel, and I think that that's also an equally good way of encapsulating the Shire. So I think it's certainly an area of interest, but I'm quite happy to support this motion and keep things as they are, tidying things up, but also to the idea of moving those funds to an area where there is obviously a problem currently at the moment that we have to fix.
The Deputy President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I perhaps will be a little less diplomatic about the matter. I recognise that the initiative's been in the corporate business plan for quite some time, and the vagueness, or not so much vagueness, but the description within the corporate business plan can be interpreted in a number of ways into what level of detail or what the initial scope of the brand development potentially is. And without sugarcoating it, coming out of that briefing, I was not content with the nature of what that brand development scope perhaps was going to be, and I think it's important for council to rectify that and provide direction through the corporate business plan to essentially redefine the scope, and part of that is making the adjustments to the budgeted financial contribution. And I think, as the Shire President has identified, ultimately there is still funding there available for some of that preliminary development of corporate brand incorporation and style guide and so on to ensure that we have a modern corporate style. But further to that, and it's one of the challenges that councils need to consider when looking at the corporate business plan, amongst all other strategic and strategic documents, is there's a lot of ticks in 2024-25 and a lot of items that are unbudgeted as well. So this CDVS1 is in fact unbudgeted for this year. So putting the $30,000 aside beside this is a great step. But I think the solution that the Shire President has presented here to essentially amend the scope of what that branding development is spot on the mark. I'm very supportive of his vision of what that scope should be, and I think Council needs to make a clear direction or send a clear message about what that scope should be. And it is, as we progress through the year, part of the corporate business plan is identifying those unbudgeted items for this year and assigning a budget to them. And that's how we always get to the time of setting the draft annual budget, and there's, you know, more things to do than we can actually afford to do. So I think this is a good direction. I think the initiative that's been identified by the Shire President is actually a high priority. I mean, it's noted in here as a low priority, but it is also recognised for this financial year, but unbudgeted. So, yeah, very supportive of the amendment.
Any further speakers? Councillor Tarantroy.
I support the amendment. However, I'm too a little bit thrown by the way it was done, that it wasn't sent out to us earlier so that we had more information about it, only because we've had discussions before about the cost of CCTV and that it is perhaps not the best way to go. It's going to cost a lot more than $30,000 to investigate that. And yes, I do agree with the brand redevelopment should wait until we change into a city in the future, because it's very expensive to rebrand something. However, I think that this should have been discussed with Council at that meeting, that you were thinking about doing this, because I think you made some noises at that meeting anyway. So yes, I support it, but I don't want people thinking now that we're getting CCTV. And this is because of the crime prevention, like, you know, safety and crime prevention, $30,000. It's not, as Councillor Shoshano said, it's unbudgeted. So it's not going to buy much at all. So, yeah, I mean, I know that there's lots of people in Dalyellup that are concerned about crime prevention and about vandalism. And yes, vandalism has cost us a lot of money. But I think that the root of the issue is bigger than what we can do as a shire. I think it's about wraparound services for young offenders, and I think it's about all of that stuff. I mean, this stuff happens in schools too, but we need to focus on letting the professionals who do those wraparound services with marginalised youth who are doing these, and some of them may not be youth because often they're in hoodies, so you can't actually tell their age, even if we did have CCTV. So, yeah, I think like my fellow councillor said previously, Councillor Ferguson, I have some reservations about how it was raised tonight. However, I do support it. Thank you.
Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think everybody may remember back to January, February, March, where I sent out emails to everybody, as I'd had quite a few people from Dalyellup very concerned about the vandalism that was occurring. Not only that, obviously, we've had the toilets in a couple of places vandalised. We've also had signage and barriers at beaches removed. I think what the Shire President has proposed here is, I'm for it. It was a surprise to me because I got quite excited about the branding, but that was only because that really stimulated my creative side, and I thought of all these wonderful photos I had of our beautiful Shire. I do agree that what Shire President says regarding a lot of changes that will be coming up, possibly rebranding before all of those things are in place, isn't the right thing to do. And I really feel that a lot of the community would be in favour of the direction in which the Shire President has suggested here, purely for the fact that it's very important to them to have the Shire looking out for them, as quite often a lot of people think we don't care what happens. And I'm only basing that on a lot of social media and conversations I've had with people. But I think it's really important for us to focus our direction on how we're going to deal with these things, because I don't like to think about the amount of money we spend putting beautiful things in place in our Shire only to have them vandalised. So I will be supporting the Shire President's amendment. Thank you.
Further speakers? Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Listening to everything that was said, I don't have a problem with not doing the brand development, but I'm seeing in the business plan there's actually 60,000 assigned to brand development at the moment. It's probably underdone if we're going to change things. My concern is that this probably moving money around a month after you've set a budget is a bit concerning. It probably really should sit down till we go to the budget review time and allocating the money there. I don't think we've really got a definition of what we're going to do under the safety and crime prevention plan, and I think that needs a bit of work. Or if we're just saying let's put 30,000 in and do a bit of a report and something like that, there's no costing in this plan for the crime prevention, so I'm not sure how we're getting round to moving money around, and I'd rather foreshadow amendment to remove item 1C, just and maybe change it to hold that for a budget review, but not spend the money on the branding services. That's my only comments on it.
Are there any further speakers to the amendment? Councillor Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'll contribute my 20 cents worth. Firstly, credit to our Shire President for putting this amendment forward. After that branding workshop that the councillors had last Wednesday, I was a bit of the opinion that it felt like we were being, and I'm not inferring anything too scurrilous here, but it felt like we were definitely going down the path of examining a new logo, which I wasn't overly happy with. In saying that, as a fellow from this sort of media and branding background, I do understand the need to absolutely get a corporate brand alignment and style guide absolutely right, and we should be nailing it right across the board. So I have no objection to us going down that path. However, I think the Shire President has made a good call in basically removing our logo from things as they stand. As has already been discussed, there's every chance that we will look at it down the track, you know, as the Shire continues to develop. But right now, I don't think that's what we should be focusing on. Let's get the style guide right. So it makes sense to make that crystal clear in the corporate business plan and, as it says, sort of realign the amount of money that we're going to dedicate to that. I can understand my fellow councillors' consternation about, you know, should it be reallocated here and now. I don't have a massive problem with it. Maybe I could be swayed to thinking like Councillor McCleary and foreshadowing that we just drop it and look at it again later. But all in all, I commend our Shire President, and the Deputy spoke very well on it too. The gist of this amendment I'm quite content with. Thank you.
All right, with all councillors having spoken, as the mover of the amendment, the call comes back to me. Look, I understand there's probably a few concerns around the notice, so if councillors feel I haven't given them enough notice on this, I do apologise for that. However, I do think I've made my feelings pretty clear last week on that item. Just another one, just in terms of budget, this isn't shifting around things post-budget. The budget allocated the 3.7 million to the corporate business plan. This is now endorsing the corporate business plan. So That's what that's doing there. So not shifting things around post-budget. It's how it is. But in terms of the plan itself, look, this is where I do think it'd be best to allocate that resource. If council sought to potentially not include that 1C, it would just mean that I suppose that funding would just move back into consolidated revenue. But I do think it would be better to allocate it to this plan. In terms of the plan itself, I have sought some feedback from community development, but also seeing what's happened in other local governments in terms of these plans. It's not about going out now and putting CCTV in. It's about looking at what can be done in a specific area for reducing some crime in that area or mitigating against it. And CCTV may be a part of that. And it's about saying, well, if you're going to put it in at this spot, this is the best place to locate it based on lighting levels, all those sorts of things. But they'll probably be things that would then fall out of this. This is basically to say that build on those relationships we have with WA Police, as well as what we're actually already doing internally with our ranger services, whether we could change some of the times that they are patrolling some areas, those sorts of things. So I do think it's a necessary initiative to undertake, just with some of the matters we have going on there. So in Dalyellup in particular, but it is happening in other areas, as we've seen with some of the vandalism at the Boynup Skate Park, but also there's been a few things around Capel town sites and Jallorp as well. So I think that's what would be the best use of this money being reallocated away from where it was in the corporate business plan. But that's certainly something that can be considered. So I don't think you can ask a question after the calls go back. Once this is dealt with, we'll go back to the substantive item. So yeah. All right. With that, I'll put the amendment to the vote. Those in favour? Those against? The amendment is carried 6-3. That becomes the substantive motion. Are there any speakers for or against? Question? Councillor McCleary, question?
Thank you, Mr. President. Now that that's the motion, the item COMA1 is allocated as budgeted, so I'd expect the business case would be updated to be unbudgeted, wouldn't? So we'd be moving the dollars out if we thought that, or are we taking it completely out?
No, it's as it currently sits, comma 1 has $35,000 allocated to it.
Yeah, it's got 30 and 25 in the 2 years. Are we just taking out the first year?
Just the first year.
Right, okay.
The second year, council will then go through its budgetary process again, and whether that becomes an item that stays in based on feedback we get from some of the things as suggested around the integrated growth framework, or it might just be shifted out again.
So we'll change that to unbudgeted in the column with the descriptor based on this decision.
Well, the description's changing, so it's changing the scope of works and allowing $5,000 with it, so it's still budgeted. The $25,000 next financial year isn't budgeted until council adopts its 25-26 budget.
So you're going to have 5,000 left, righto? I see.
Be 5,000 left there.
It's budgeted. Yeah,
yep.
That's fine.
All right. Are there any further speakers to that item? Councillor Ferguson, do you wish to close?
I'm being coached again, and I really appreciate that. I would just like to say this has been an interesting discussion, to put it mildly, and I take on board the comments of Councillor Tarantroy. These are not necessarily an adverse initiative that you've introduced into the motion, but I do wish it had been handled in a different way so that I could feel more comfortable about it. And I do take the point that Councillor McCleary has made that indeed if there was to be a variation of the budget, I know you've justified it by saying in adopting the corporate business plan we are adopting part of the budget, and you've sought to vary that before from the recommendation to an amendment that you've proposed. I just think that was a bit of a, shall we say, a shorthand way of doing it. I would have preferred to have done it another way. but nonetheless I will support the motion as it is now drafted and commend it to my colleagues.
And with that, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 13.2, Committees of Council Minutes. Is there a mover for those minutes? Councillor McCleary. Seconder? Councillor Dillon. Councillor McCleary.
I just move the motion as read.
Councillor Dillon. Any discussion on those minutes? Nothing further from the mover? Put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried. So I'll do that again. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 13.3, Capel Coastal Subcommittee Local Representative Appointments. Is there a mover for that item? Councillor Ferguson. Seconded, Councillor Sciano. Councillor Ferguson.
Coached again. As recommended, thank you, Mr. President, and endorse the quality and calibre of the people who've applied and have been hopefully endorsed tonight.
The Deputy President.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. As the chair of this subcommittee and Councillor Ferguson as a deputy chair, we've obviously seen this item at the Climate Change Adaptation Sustainability Committee level, and I'm sure it would come up if there are any contributions to this item around. Obviously, there was advertising for community representatives, one from each of the coastal communities of Peppermint Grove, Dayalup and the Capel coastal areas, and obviously, as you'll note in the report, only 3 applications were received, but only from 2 of those communities, so the council is being asked to consider to allow all 3 of those to join. I think concurring with Councillor Ferguson that the calibre of applications, I don't think that should be a problem, and so I'm very happy to support the recommendation.
Are there any speakers for or against? Councillor Tarantroy.
I would just like to say that it's wonderful that we've had 3 people from our community step forward. In this day and age, it's very hard to get volunteers in anything, so I think this is really good that we've got 3. It's unfortunate that 2 are from the same area. However, as Councillor Shishano said, it's not about the people who have put an application in care about the issue, and so I think that it's something that we should support. It would have been ideal to have a representative from Dayalup, however that didn't happen. So yeah, I support this as well. Love the community getting involved in the process of council. Thank you.
Are there any further speakers? Nothing further. The mover wish to close?
Thank you, Mr. Shire President. I just want to endorse Councillor Sciano's observations about the fact that we didn't get an applicant from Dayalup, but nonetheless, I think we'd concur that the quality of the applicants that we've received and hopefully confirmed tonight will serve the Capel community in general, not just their own secular interests. Thank you.
And with that, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Infrastructure and Development Reports, 14.1, Advertisement of Draft Local Planning Policy 6.23, Amendment and Extension Term of Development Approval. Is there a mover for that item? Councillor McCleary. Seconder. The Deputy President. Councillor McCleary.
Yeah, this is just a procedural thing. Look, I'll move the motion as read.
The Deputy President.
No, I'll reserve my right.
Are there any speakers for or against that item? Anything further from the mover? Put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 14.2, Multipurpose Community Centre, Library and Digital Hub, Lot 6059, number 101, Tiffany Centre, Dayalup, extension of time. Is there a mover? Councillor Ferguson. Second, Deputy President. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Shire President. I just think this is a sensible way to proceed, so we eliminate any ambiguity about the time framing of the project and don't require complex amendments or negotiations into the future. I think it's a very sensible thing to do, and I commend staff of having the foresight to actually anticipate this as an issue we should deal with. Thank you.
The Deputy President.
Thank you, Mr. President. If only there was a local planning policy to amend the extension terms of development applications. Yes, no, very supportive, and the comments of Councillor Ferguson, I'm glad that this is being dealt with before we get to November and suddenly we end up in a bit of a mess, and any other, I would not be happy with any further delays on this community and youth centre, so support the officer's recommendation.
Are there any speakers for or against? No. Councillor Ferguson, anything further? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously.
The Shire President, being 6:57, has left the room and has declared a conflict of interest, which I'll just... the Shire President has declared proximity interest on item 14.3, tender 24-02, Boynup West Road. Item 14.3, do I have a mover? Councillor Tarantroy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dillon. Councillor Tarantroy.
Yes, well, there were 4 tenders. I think that the process that the Shire staff used to select the right tender is very clear, and so yes, it's about accepting the tender submission from Foot and Hogan for 277,150.16, excluding widening, reconstruction and widening of Boynup West Road. And also support the additional Shire contribution of $32,284.72. So I have no problem with the Shire process that the staff undertake. So this is the best tender and we need these works done. Thank you.
Councillor Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy President. Yeah, happy to see this one come before us tonight. I think it's pretty remarkable that with our budgeting, how we're only 32 grand out ultimately, which is a nice thing. Kudos to the staff who made that happen. And great to see not just the one name being put forward to do some of our important capital works. A little bit of competition back in the industry with maybe a few, contractors being freed up from other work associated with the bore and other projects. So good to see 4 names in the hat, and I'm happy to recommend the one that the staff have selected based on pretty strict criteria too.
Thank you, Councillor Dillon. Is there any speakers against the item? Is there any speakers on the item? Councillor McCleary.
Probably just a statement on item 1. Can you put the L in Fulton Hogan?
Oh yeah,
I'll have that.
I said it right there.
Thank you. That error has been corrected. Is there any other speakers on the item? Councillor Tarantroy, you'd like to close?
Just to say that, yeah, for $3 million, we're getting a good deal here. And as Councillor Dillon pointed out, we only had to find another $32,284.72, which was down to staff finding that. So that's fantastic. Thank you.
I'll put that item to the vote. All those in favour? That is carried unanimously. The Shire President can re-enter the room if someone would like to grab him. I'll note the time, 7:01.
All right, item 14.4, tender 2406 Barley Road, Capel, road upgrade. Moved Councillor McCleary. Seconded Councillor Mogg. Councillor McCleary.
I'll move the motion as read.
Councillor Mogg. Any discussion on that item? Any further from the mover? No. Put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 14.5, tender 2403, street sweeping and drain cleaning. Is there a mover for that item? Councillor Mogg. Seconded. Councillor Noonan. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I move the motion as read.
Councillor Noonan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yes, this an essential service that needs to be carried out. So it was pleasing to get the tender or to get the submission. So I think that it's good, and I commend this motion.
Are there any speakers for or against? Councillor Tarantroy.
Again, the process that the staff used to do these tenders is very good. In this tender, we had 3 applicants. I was only having a conversation with one of my neighbours, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they were saying, when are the street sweepers coming around? So this is really quite timely. So I fully support this. It is the best value for money, and the officers on the selection tender team have done a wonderful job. Thank you very much.
Are there any other speakers to the item? I'll have a little crack at it. I was in Jalorop on Thursday. I was at the Bushfire Brigade in the community hall just for a few little things, and a few of the Shire officers were out the front in the car park at the bubbler pit, which it overflowed, and they were shoving rods down there trying to unblock it and everything. It was packed full of leaves, so it was flooding the car park and a few other things around. So this is just why some of these services like this are essential to prevent such critical bits of infrastructure, which is what drainage is, from failing in those sorts of instances. Lucky the community centre of the hall and the fire brigade are a little bit elevated, so the water was able just to run off down the road, but it wasn't going where it should have been going, which is why it's great to see these sorts of services come in and clean these sorts of things out. So that's my little bit. Anything further? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Shire President. I think this type of infrastructure is unrecognised in how vital it is to the security of the community, and it's not as glamorous as building a flash new road or building a new even community centre, or indeed a pump track, but they are absolutely essential to maintaining the integrity of the community, and I commend it to Council and thank staff for their work on this particular matter. Thank you.
Are there any further speakers for or against? Councillor Mogg, do you wish to close? Put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 14.6, Bushfire Risk Management Coordinator Agreement. Moved Councillor Dillon. Seconded Councillor McCleary. Councillor Dillon.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is something that probably needs to be almost better circulated through the residents and ratepayers of the Shire. We're very, very lucky to have a bushfire risk management coordinator, not only operational in the southwest, but based out of the Shire of Capel. It's a really good initiative, sharing this resource with Dardanup and Collie Shires. And like I say, very lucky to have her based here, even though I'm sure she spreads her interests around the Shires adequately. She's already secured over $900,000 in mitigation funds and helped drive 65 treatments around the area. Admittedly, I wouldn't mind seeing a few more of those being prescribed burns rather than mechanical solutions, but I think that's something we can work towards. But just broadly, this is a support for this position. She's been with us for a while. I'd like to thank Mel for her efforts, and I'd like to see all councillors get behind this item tonight.
Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr. President. I concur with my fellow councillor, Dylan. The one question I had with this was, how's this budgeted? Is it treated as an employer or a contract arrangement with the other councils?
The Acting Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you for your question, Councillor. So it's a contracted position shared across the other councils. Thank you.
Nothing further, Councillor? Are there any other speakers? Councillor Terentroy?
I just thought I wanted to point out that this is a pilot project for 3 years, so it's not an ongoing thing unless it's successful, but I think this is a great way of sharing resources between Dardanup, Collie and Capel. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers to the item? Councillor Noonan? Apologies.
I'd just like to confirm, if I could, that this includes the sealing or putting limestone or blue metal on some of the paths around or fire breaks around reserves.
That goes through the Bushfire Mitigation Activity Fund. This is just in relation to the coordinator that manages those sorts of things. Yep.
Yep, that's right. I commend this motion, and I think it's great having the coordinator. I'd also like to point out that while there have been some areas where there have been concerns about the location or the putting, for example, blue metal across creek beds, that sort of thing, there are other areas where residents have been very pleasantly surprised by having formerly sandy tracks around reserves, having either a limestone base or a hard rock base, which makes it much easier to walk along and take horses or dogs and those sorts of things. So it's really sort of served to extend the trails, the functional sort of the trails around a lot of areas, and that's very much appreciated. So I think it's important. I know that that the Shire's officers have perhaps heard some of the angst about some of those treatments, but it's important that they also are aware and get some kudos for areas where it's very much appreciated. And those treatments have been very, very good. In addition, obviously, to the making it much more accessible for the fire trucks, for fire appliances to get around. So, yep, this is a very good initiative, and good to see we've got someone coordinating it. Thanks.
All right, are there any further speakers to that item? Does the mover wish to close? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Community and corporate reports. 15.1, the Shire of Capel Sports Spaces Plan. Moved Councillor Terentroy. Is there a seconder? Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Terentroy.
I'd like to move with an amendment, please.
Your amendment, Councillor?
To add point 4, receives the petition acknowledged by Council in item 10 of the agenda and includes the business case review and development of a pump track in Boyanup in conjunction with the skate park upgrades as recommended with attachment 15.1.3.
All right. Let's get that on the board. that your amendment on the board, councillor?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Do you still wish to be seconded, councillor Ferguson? Don't concur. All right. Is there a seconder to that? Councillor Mogg. Councillor Terence Roy.
It was really heartening to see this young boy come here we had a meeting with. It was really heartening to see Zach come here and talk to us about his petition. Young people getting involved in the process of local government should be encouraged, and we're not actually promising anything, we're just saying that we're going to look at it. And so it's doing more than just accepting his petition to go nowhere, it's actually directing it to be used in future planning. Thank you.
Councillor Mogg.
Reserve.
Are there any further speakers for or against? The Deputy President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I need to address sort of how this motion is going to work, because this is actually now contrary to the decision that Council just made earlier, because Council did make a decision as per option 2 to receive a report of petition be prepared based on a report be prepared for Council separately to the space place the sports plan, and that this was an option, but Council has made a decision on option 2, which moving things as amended doesn't allow Council to have the ability to actually debate the change without having to completely drop the officer's recommendation, which if there's not something foreshadowed, which I'll just for the record, I'll foreshadow the original motion in case we go down that path. This doesn't belong in here because, point 4 doesn't belong in here because we've dealt with that item earlier this evening, and that it will be brought back to Council as its own report, as its own topic. But completely concur with Councillor Terence-Roy's comments about the presentation tonight and the intention of the petition. So I actually think, given that it's the current motion, I can actually move an amendment to drop point 4. So someone's stolen my standing orders.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, so yeah, no, you can move that as an amendment. So
I was going to ask a question.
Well,
the Deputy President's
I
charged
can't give away my opportunity to speak because then I won't be able to move the amendment. I will move an amendment to remove point 4. Just for the, I'll move that first before I say anything. Yep.
Is there a second to that? Councillor Ferguson? You have the floor.
Yep, so I'll just make this quick. I think this is just a matter of just clearing up the decision that we made earlier. Concur with everything that's been said about the petition and about the project. Hoping that we can just amend this back and then we can continue on talking about the sports plan. So that's it from me.
Councillor Ferguson?
Thank you, Mr. Shire President. Look, I can totally concur with Deputy Shire President Councillor Shiano's comments. I thought we dealt with this matter adequately and very comprehensively in the earlier motion this evening, and I don't believe we should actually drop this in on what is a long-term strategic plan. If you look at your business paper, I mean, there's over 300 pages of consultants' report regarding this particular long-term project. And this is a long-term project. Yes, it's scoped out to be 1, 5 and 10 years or similar. And we had conversations in briefings and at our meeting last week about how the long-term funding, which is staggering in its implications, would be achieved and how we would deal with it in our long-term financial plan. Now, I commend the young gentleman who brought the matter regarding the pump track to Council. I admire his courage, and I think he'll go a long way in terms of public speaking. But that's not what this motion's about. That's not what this item in the business paper's about. So whilst I understand Councillor Tarantroy's commitment to try and get it done, we've got a pathway created by the Shire President and endorsed by Council when we supported item 2 in the earlier motion. So I can't support Councillor Tarantroy's amendment. Thank you.
Are there any further speakers for or against the amendment? No? Member wish to close?
I think just reiterating the point that Councillor Ferguson made is I think what was brought to us tonight by Mr Hawkins will, if it ends up in this plan and slapped onto the back of what has been a very detailed plan, it could get swallowed up in the long-term nature of the document. So I'm very happy with the decision that Council's made earlier. Let's just pop this out and get back on track about talking about this sports places plan.
With that, I'll put the amendment to the vote. Those in favour? Sorry.
Amendment.
This is in favour of the amendment to remove point 4. Just to remove point 4. All those in favour? Right, that's carried unanimously. So we return to the motion as was originally provided by Shire officers. Are there any speakers to that item? Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Mr President. And I'm sorry I missed the meetings for this. The review of that, I've had a long time reading that over the past week and just getting my head around things. There's a lot of money involved in this. There's a little bit of uncertainty with how time frames for the Dale at the South Oval. It highlighted some really good, or some risk with some of the partneringship that we do. There's a good bit of work in there. But it still identified that partneringship with certain agreements where we've firmed up with some of the schools are a good way forward and saves us money. And look, it covers every town sporting oval in the district. It's a tremendous report, and I commend the people that prepared it and brought it to council. So yeah, look, this is a good plan. Plans do get changed along the way, but it's a starting point, and I commend this motion.
Are there any further speakers? As the mover, Councillor Tarantroy, you've already spoken. Yeah, so you'll get to close. So if I give you the call now, no one else will get to speak. That's yeah. Unless you want to suspend standing orders. That's fine. All right. Any further speakers? Councillor Dillon.
Thank you, Mr President. Look, without being too twee, these are the sort of items that I wanted to run for council to be involved in. These are, like, we're not the Sleepy Hollow anymore. We're changing at a rapid rate. We've got to make sure we've got our eyes as a council and as a ratepayer base on what we're doing here. And the wheels do turn slowly, so we've got to have a plan. I think it's a really good plan. We need to keep moving forward on these sorts of things. Yes, as Councillor McCleary said, our shared use agreements are critical at this juncture because just, as far as Capel's concerned, one oval and, a handful of hockey fields isn't going to cut it fairly soon, especially if we end up getting Capel North developed. And of course, if Boynup East goes ahead, we'll have an even bigger ratepayer base and hopefully thriving communities and lots of kids and all wanting to participate in wonderful outdoor sports. So we need to do things like this, and we need to look at this, or take it on board tonight, put it through. As Councillor Ferguson correctly said, it's got the immediate, short-term, medium-term goals. This is really exciting stuff for the Shire of Capel, and I commend it to everyone here tonight. And even at home, if you haven't had a look at what we're sort of thinking, look medium to long-term, have a read. It's all there.
Are there any further speakers to that item? No, I'll just say a few things. Yeah, look, it is quite a high-level strategic document, and there's certainly some big dollars attached to it, particularly in those longer-term years. But I suppose what's important and critical in this recommendation is that it is also being to look through our future corporate business plan and long-term financial plan. So we'll be working on that towards the end of the calendar year, and where we'll see that full impact of this sort of strategy, amongst many others, on the community going forward. So do support endorsing it now, but we'll see really how those numbers work out year to year on the rate base. But in terms of some of those short-term actions to get better utilisation and fix some of the long-standing issues in our club rooms is a great way forward. But those 1 to 5 medium term and long-term things, I'd certainly like to see that a bit more through the long-term financial plan, which we'll have coming forward very shortly. So, very good. Are there any further speakers? Councillor Tarrant, you wish to close?
Yes, just want to clarify. The reason I wanted to ask a question is because I realised my error and I wanted to withdraw, but it was too late because Shoshana had the floor. So yes, I think as a school teacher I get excited when I see youth getting involved in stuff that's probably be a little beyond their years, but I think it's wonderful and we should encourage youth when they want to get involved in the process of council, because you never know. Zach may be sitting at this very table one day. Okay, so yes, I'm very happy with the sports spaces plan. As Councillor Dillon said, it's we need to have these spaces for our expanding population now and into the future, and it is a very, very well thought out document. And yes, I acknowledge that in my excitement seeing youth getting involved, I shot over the bow a little too high. Thank you very much.
And with that, I'll put it to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Just before I move to the next item, I'll just clarify just for a few members, because it's been said a few times. Councillor Sciano's last name is pronounced Sciano, not Shoshano. So I'll just clarify that, just because a few members have said something else. 15.2, minor community grants 2024-25. Is there a mover for that item? Councillor McCleary. Seconded, Councillor Noonan. Councillor McCleary.
This is always a good time when we put something back in the community directly. I move the motion as read.
Councillor Noonan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councillor McCleary. It's always a joy to see and interesting, to see the different applications for these community grants come through. It's interesting to note the range of activities and things that are being requested. That a lot of them are sports club based. So it sort of goes to the last item that we just discussed, but also to that point that there are so many opportunities and so many activities, so many different groups in the Shire, and it's really pleasing that we're in a position where we can help those different groups out in this small way. So yeah, a very good motion, and certainly support it.
Are there any other speakers to that item? Councillor Tarrant.
As a long-term community volunteer in every community that I have lived in, I think it's wonderful that 12 out of the 13 grants have been given. 1 to Capel Horse and Pony Club, 1 to investing in our youth, 1, so that's the yellow early years program, 1 to Dale Primary Parents and Citizens Association for a possum dray workshop. Awesome, looking after our environment and our little animals. I love that sticker when I put my bin out. Keep the cats in so the possums can play, something like that. 1 to the Capel Country Club for a security system upgrade, 1 to the Dale Up Dinosaurs Football Club, new club display signage, at the Ferndale Pavilion, and also to Dale Up Diamonds T-ball and softball club. They're getting some signage as well and some equipment. One to Boynup Primary School, PNC, for reading aids. As an educator, yes, yes, yes. And also to the Ludlow Forest Restoration Group, which is close to my heart. They do a wonderful job out there. They're going to, they've got a northwest irrigation project that they've asked for some money for. And the Capel Community Garden also, so let's get to work. So they're wanting to purchase some, I'm not sure what a gorilla dump chart trolleys and well, I know what anti-insect netting is, but I'm not sure about the gorilla dump cart trolleys. They must be like a wheelbarrow, a plastic one, I'm not sure. But I think it's wonderful that we're supporting these groups, and also Horsepower, Bustleton, Capel for arena fencing. So this is awesome, giving back to our community, which gives us so much with what all of the volunteers do. Thank you.
Are there any further speakers on that item? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr. Shire President. I'd just like to make the comment. Council's in a position to agree to and acknowledge and agree to and fund these grants because we've had the temerity to fund a proper budget.
Are there any further speakers to that item? Councillor McCleary.
Put the motion to the vote.
Oh, sorry, you were the... All right, all those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. I was a bit on autopilot then. 15.3, Community Events Sponsorship Scheme, Round 1. Is there a mover for that? Councillor Mogg. Seconded, Councillor McCleary. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I move the motion as read and fully support community events. As event organiser myself, I know the importance they are for our shire, our communities, their people and tourism, etc. Thank you.
Councillor McCleary.
Thank you, Councillor Morgan, Councillor Dan, Mr. President. Yeah, look, it's great again. We're putting back in the community, and yeah, as a volunteer and organising events in the past, these bits of money that you get from the Shire and along with other bodies, I imagine, help get these things up, and it's great to see this being funded.
All right, are there any further speakers to that item? Councillor Terence-Roy.
Just to say, we had 3 applications, and the Lions Club of Boynup, the Capel Bowls Club for Glow Bowls, and Dance Step Southwest. And I must say, I apologise for leaving 2 people off the list who got in the last item. I left 2 people off the list. Thank you. Apologies.
Are there any further speakers to that item? Councillor Mogg, you wish to close? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 15.4, accounts paid during the month of July 2024. Is there a mover for those accounts? Councillor Dillon. Second to the Deputy President. Councillor Dillon.
Just as read, thank you, Mr. President.
The Deputy President.
Is that all right?
Are there any speakers for or against those accounts? Councillor Ferguson.
For Mr. Shire President, I had a couple of queries at the briefing last week and they've been completely satisfied, and I thank staff for that attention to that matter.
Anything further for or against? Anything further, Councillor Dillon? I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? And those again? I'll do that again. Those in favour? That's carried unanimously. 15.5, the financial reports for the 30th of June 2024. Is there a mover for those reports? Councillor McCleary. Seconder. Councillor Mogg. Councillor McCleary.
Move the motion as read. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. Thank you for the staff recommendation and support the motion. Thank you.
Is there any speakers for or against that item? No. I suppose I'll just say a few things. That's the last report for the 2023-24 financial year. There's a bit of information included in that report, and you can see the number of capital works programs there that were completed, but also the ones that were carried forward into the current financial year from various reasons due to supply and contract arrangements, but also some of the cost increases that were associated with those. So in the way that we're budgeting for our capital works going forward now, being design and preparation in one financial year and delivery in the next, it's hopefully an issue we'll see less of. But yeah, a lot of those deferred projects, we'll see them delivered this financial year. As we've seen through the budget we adopted and through the key performance criteria, 100% delivery is the target. So that's what we're working on. Are there any further speakers to that? The Deputy President.
I'll just say that I think DC 466 should be Waddingham Loop, not Waddington Loop. And I'll declare an interest on that one.
Oh, the drainage reserve. We can get that amended in the minutes. Yep. All right. Anything further on those? The statements? Report, sorry. Councillor McCleary, wish to close?
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the important things about the this particular item in each thing is each meeting is the attachment, the monthly financial report, and there's some really good charts in there at the moment. If you ever want to see where all the money goes and where it comes from, there's nice little pie chart showing the distribution and some bar charts. So they satisfy my curiosity. I'm a sad puppy, but yeah. I'll put the motion to the vote.
And with that, all those in favour? That's carried unanimously. There is no new business of an urgent nature. We now move to public question time. Are there any public questions? Oh. Motions without notice. Motions for consideration at the next ordinary meeting of the Council. Councillor Mogg.
Thank you, President. I'd like to put a motion forward. I'll read it out. That the Chief Executive Officer prepare a report to Council for the formation of an environmental working group with 1. A draft terms of reference for the environmental working group. 2. The terms of reference to include a purpose of ensuring stakeholder engagement over environmental issues in the Shire. 3. The terms of reference include stakeholders, community groups, councillors and staff as members. Thank you.
All right. That will be coming to the next ordinary meeting of the Council. Items for consideration behind closed doors. There is one item tonight, 20.1, variation to the supply and delivery of gravel and limestone. I'll move the procedural motion that the meeting go behind closed doors in accordance with Shire of Capel Standing Orders Local Law 2016 12.1G to consider item 20.1. Is there a seconder? Councillor Dillon. All those in favour? That's carried. Unanimous. Thank you very much. We'll be behind closed doors
second.
All right, now that council has returned from behind closed doors, I can read that council accepted the following recommendation, that council accept the submission from Carboni Bros for a price variation to the contracted schedule of rates for the supply and delivery of gravel and limestone contract as per confidential attachment 20.1.1. There being no further business on the agenda this evening, I'll declare the meeting closed at 7:49 p.m. Thank you very much.